Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. It's Jose once again coming at you from Brooklyn, New York, and this is my revert stories and my struggles, my ideas, my life as a Muslim revert, and my day-to-day situation and how I'm coping, how I'm living, and it's my story told to you directly from my heart via the internet. I want to start by saying thank you very much for everybody who's sat down with me in the last year. It's been the best year of my life. Um, I've I've accomplished many things in many years, but this is clearly and by far the greatest year of my life. I've set down the foundation for my life as a man, for my life as a son, for my life in general, and I just very thankful to everybody who sat down with me and forwarded me a video, who listened to me, who enjoyed my words, who just shared a story or a hadith or anything. Just anybody, just thank you. Appreciate all the brothers and sisters who are now a part of my life, who weren't a part of my life a year ago. And that's my thank you to you guys from my heart. But I just want to share with you guys a little experience that I had a couple of weeks ago at my mother's house. So I was at my mother's house and we're sitting there, and before we have dinner at my mother's house, she asks one of us to say grace. And since I've become religious, she's been asking me to say grace more and more to test me out, I guess, to see where my faith is, to see what's going on, to see that I'm keeping up with my, to see that I'm growing in knowledge, I guess, or just because she likes the fact that I'm religious now and she wants me to be thankful during dinner. So I'm saying I'm saying grace, and this might be a little foreign to some people, but in my house that's how we, in my mother's house that's how we do it. So before I say grace, what I'm thankful for, I say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and I go on about just thanking God and making dua and just asking Him to protect my brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters overseas, my brother who's in California, just everybody, and I end by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, and we eat. So we sit down, and one of my cousins and his wife is there at the time. So they sit there, and after dinner, they're like, so, I mean, after, while we're sitting down to eat, his wife, Norma, goes, Jose, so, change your religion? And I was like, yeah, about that. I became a Muslim. She's like, wow, how interesting, that's such an extreme difference, what led you to that? And I was like, well, discipline, trying to reach out for God, and I reached out for God in Islam, and then He grabbed me, and that was it. Me and Him have been closer than I've ever been to God before, and I said, how can I let go of God when in Islam I found Him, and He helped me out so much, changed my life in a positive direction. So she's like, wow, that's great to hear. She's like, but Islam is very different from Christianity. I said, no, see, Islam isn't too different from Christianity. And once I explained to her the the commonalities between Islam and Christianity, she was like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that." And she goes, "Well, has your position in regards to women changed?" And I was like, "Oh, of course." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, women, I look at them in a whole nother light, in a whole nother perspective." She was like, "Oh, how so?" And I was like, "Well, for instance, we can start with my mother." I was like, "Me and her are so much closer now. Me and her are actually talking more, speaking more, connecting more, and I feel so much closer to her ever since I got closer to God." And I was like, as a Muslim, I was told that Jannah is at the feet of your mother, at the feet of your mother. And she was, so I had to explain that, if you treat your mother right, if you're right by your mother in the eyes of God, if you treat your mother correctly, then you can get into Jannah strictly on the fact that you're just good to your mother. And she was like, wow. She's like, but what about other women? And I was like, well, other women, I don't really look at them the same way. And she was like, how come? And I was wondering what she was trying to look for, because now I got curious, and I was like, well, and I continued about, I was like, when I look at a woman now, I look at her and wonder, well, let me start like this. Before, when I used to look at a woman, I told her that when I looked at a woman, I used to say, wow, I wonder if I can take her home. That was like the evil thought in my head. And now it's like, wow, I wonder if we can make a home. And the difference between that is just completely and far beyond that. And she was like, so you don't look down on them? I was like, what? I was like, no, I don't look down on them. I was like, not at all. I was like, that's not what I am. And she was like, well, doesn't Islam teach you to look down on women, to have many wives, to just how they're not equals to you? And I was like, no, 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 that's not Islam. And then she goes, well, I've seen Muslims treat their wives and their women in certain ways. And I was like, those are Muslims, that's not Islam. I had to differentiate between Muslims and Islam. Just because they do certain things, that doesn't mean that's Islam. That's just what these particular Muslims might be doing. And it has nothing to do with Islam or the Quran, or what Islam teaches us as Muslims. And she was like, well, why do women walk behind their husbands? And I was like, because as a husband, you're taught to be the protector and the provider for your wife and your children. So she was like, okay, but what's going on there? She's like, why do they walk behind you? And I was like, that's sort of a cultural thing. You see it here sometimes in the United States of America, but I take it as this, right? She isn't walking. First of all, my wife, I'm not gonna say walk behind me. She's gonna walk side to side, because we're gonna be an interdependent situation, and we're gonna be a couple. We're not gonna be. I'm just not. I just wouldn't agree with that. It's not the way I think. But that doesn't say I'm right or wrong. But back to where I was. I told her that if anything is to happen, right? If I'm walking in front of my wife, whatever happens to me first, right? So if something is coming, it's gonna happen to me first. And I'm more protecting my wife than it is degrading her. And she was like, oh. She was like, well, what about when you guys pray? Why do they pray behind you? And I was like, for the same reason, in front of God, I want to be judged and looked at first. I want to I want God to look at me first, and for me to lead the way for my wife and for my kids, right? As a man, you're just the leader of your household. That doesn't mean that she doesn't play a role in your leadership. Of course not. Of course your wife should, and inshallah I have a wife that plays a role in my particular leadership of my family. Doesn't mean she's a subject, not at all. And I was like, and when we pray, the way we prostrate, we wouldn't, like, if a woman's bending over in front of me consistently, like, that's gonna distract me from praying, and she's like, oh, so you're saying that they're temptation? I was like, no. And then I realized that she was trying to get at certain things that she didn't agree with. So she thought she didn't agree with Islam, but she didn't understand it wasn't Islam. So then I had to sort of clear the air, like, no, that's not Islam. You gotta understand, we're not taught to do that. We're taught to elevate women. We're not taught to look down on them. And it starts with your mother. So I had to reiterate the fact that, I look at my mother differently. And women, they're going to, most, inshallah, all women get to see the love of being a wife, right? So I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to degrade a woman. And then I go into the how she was like, but why do you guys cover them up? And I was like, I don't cover up anybody. That's their choice. That's how they want to live, And then I had to explain to her that it's a modesty situation. And I was like, if you're gonna evaluate a woman, right? As men, when you look at a woman, you're gonna look at what she shows you. So if a woman shows you her heart and her soul, you're gonna love her for her heart and her soul. If she shows you her breasts and her legs, you're gonna love her for her breasts and her legs. Now you tell me, as women, as people, don't you want to be loved for your heart and your soul, as opposed to your breasts and your legs? That's just fundamental to me. I didn't know that before Islam, though. You see? And she was like, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And I was like, no, there may not be. But is it easier to be loved? Would you prefer to be loved for your heart, your soul, or for your body? Like what is it? And she's like, she really didn't have an answer. And I kind of was like, yeah, gotcha. But, that's just something that I felt like I had to address here on my videos, because it's a situation that a lot of my friends and family might not understand. And Islam don't teach me to look down on women. complete the opposite. I have so much more respect for women now. Like I said, started with my mother, and me and my mother now are way closer than I've ever been to my mom in my entire life. And it's just, it's beauty. Like I see my mother and I see beauty, and I look at sisters and I see beauty. Although it's interesting that I can't really look at a sister like that, because I kind of like, I don't want to like. I feel like if I look at them for too long, obviously you're taught to lower your gaze first and foremost. When you look at somebody, you lower your gaze because you don't want those thoughts to creep into your head. If Because we're humans, it's in our nature to think about women and men when we look at them. So it's kind of like, just look away. It's not gonna kill you to look away. So when I look at a sister, I can't really like look at a sister. You know what I mean? Like I just can't. It's weird. It's obviously you can acknowledge if somebody is beautiful. Like if you look at them, you're like, wow, it's very good looking. MashaAllah. Wow, what a beautiful, good looking person. But I just can't gawk at them. Like it's I don't like. Somebody was like, oh, subhanallah, that's like the mercy of Allah, and I'm like, is it? Man, that's cool. But I really don't understand it as of yet, so I can't really. All I know is that I can't really do that. You know what I mean? Like I can't, and I feel like if I look at them, it's kind of like I'm that's degrading somebody. You know what I mean? Like looking at somebody for their flesh is degrading. To want somebody for what they look like is just so superficial. Like that's just, and I've done it. Of course, I've done it. But since I've become a Muslim, it's just my whole paradigm has shifted. Now it's kind of like I have so much respect for the hijab, like the way of life, like because I'm an insider now. Like I can see the beauty in the hijab, like I can see the beauty in the lifestyle. I can see the beauty in the modesty and the righteous and in the piousness, and I can see the just all I can say is just the beauty in it, and they can't. All they see is a woman that's wearing sheets because people are trained to look at the superficial. They don't understand the beauty within. So I was thinking about my cousin. We were in my cousin's house, and I'm not going to name her because that's not right. She might not like what I got to say. But, I heard them complaining about they can't find good men, and these men out here are dogs, and these men are this, and these men are that. And I was like, hey, well, maybe you should be careful about what you show them. How can you complain that a man doesn't get to know you when you show him, you know what I mean? Like, this is not you. Breasts, chest, and all that, that's not you. That's not the beauty in you, you know? It's impossible for you to complain when you show him bananas and you want him to see oranges. It's not the same monster. But I understand that, like, that's just the way that people have been shown, I guess. And I don't wanna generalize everybody, but you know, people out there just showing each other different things. Like just like the way I put it, there's no better way I guess to put it than you want to show them bananas and you want them to see oranges. Well, maybe if you want them to see oranges, you should show them oranges. Stop showing people bananas. you know, um, but I'm sorry if I offended anybody. That's not my aim. I just want people to understand my views and my struggles and what I'm going through right now, how I see the world. You have the right to disagree. That's solely on you, and thank God for different minds. Because if people all thought the same, we wouldn't get anywhere. We would all be robots. So yeah, and that's my view on women now. Like I feel like I've elevated women. I don't look at them for their outside, their superficial. I want to meet somebody and love them for them. You know what I mean? Like love them for their heart, their soul, and their mind. And inshallah, I'll find somebody like that. But yeah, I guess I hope that you guys understood my point. I love everybody out there. Assalamu alaikum. And let's have a great 2013. That's all I gotta say. Mi corazón te manda saludos. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram if you want to follow me on Keek. Keek, I got 36 seconds of pure positivity for you every single day, inshallah. Alright, so if you want to see a quick video or you want to feel good, maybe I can help you with that, you know. It'll be just pure positivity. And Facebook, I'm always on Facebook, you know. And once again, shout out to anybody that made me smile this year. I love you guys. Don't